My sister fired me from my job even though I did nothing wrong. Fire her! I, 19 female, have had a broken family for at least 12 years now. Although I have 4 siblings, for the sake of this story, I will only refer to my 23 female sister and my 17 male younger brother. By the way, this comes from Pulling on Strings, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. So, for context, my older siblings have a different dad to my younger brother and me, and since I was 7, my sister had moved to her dad's place. Since then, I have seen my sister on and off as she moved between her dad's and my mom's house, and then eventually out of home. Her dad lived about 12 hours away at the time. For example, for my 10th birthday, she surprised me by turning up, and I cried because she hadn't even messaged me since she left 3 years prior. Around about this time last year, I needed a second job for extra money, and so my sister offered me a casual position as she was the store manager at her place of work. Our relationship had been strained for years at this point, as she would let me trust her and then push me away again, but at this time, we had just started talking again, and I saw it as an opportunity to get to know her once again since we were both adults now. Her condition to letting me work there was that I wasn't allowed to tell the others that I was her sister, which hurt me a lot because I felt like she was embarrassed of me, especially when my younger brother worked there at the time and everyone knew that he was her brother.
She's like, yeah, but he's cool.
Regardless, I let it go because I was just glad to be around her again. Fast forward to a couple of weeks, and I had a friend who was having issues with her family, so I had offered her to stay with my younger brother, my dad, and me until she found somewhere to live. On this specific day, it was her first day coming to stay with us, and I knew she finished work at 5:15. It was about a half-hour drive from her work to my house and about a 15-minute drive from my work to my house, and I was off at 5:30. For this reason, I wanted to leave right on time because I didn't want her to be waiting outside at night by herself. It was winter, so it got dark very quickly, and she didn't know my brother or dad well enough to be in the house alone with them, and I didn't want her to be uncomfortable. For this reason, straight on 5:30, I tried to ask my sister if I could go home, but she was busy talking, so I waited. After about 5 minutes, I started getting anxious because I am a nervous person, and I said to her, "Hey, I'm sorry, but I really need to leave. I'm off at 5:30, and it's now 5:35. I need to go home so my friend isn't there by herself." She responded with, "I have made a new rule that whatever time you finish, you need to stay 15 minutes after to tidy up your station before you leave. I will pay you for it."
You can't just make new rules willy-nilly.
Yeah, you gotta put that in the schedule then.
Yeah, be like, oh, you're off now. I'm adding 15 minutes to your off time.
I said to her, "I've already cleaned up my station. On my roster, it says 5:30 finish time. If you want me to finish at 5:45, you need to put that on my roster." "That's right. I understand you are going to have to pay me for it, and in the future, I will stay back, but today I really need to go." She then told me no, and I was visibly annoyed. Like I said, I am a nervous person, and being late makes me anxious. I stayed for another 5 minutes before she said, "Come with me, now," before walking me into the back of the store and said, "Do not ever undermine me in front of staff ever again. The way you just spoke to me was disgusting, and just because I'm your sister doesn't mean you get to talk to me like that. I am your boss." Girl,
You're not my freaking god.
literally, even if that's your boss, like,
You
that's
could still say to your boss, sorry, can't stay. You'll have to put it on my thing next time.
To which I was confused because I didn't give her any attitude. I only explained that to her because at my other job, I was a duty manager, and I knew that it was illegal to keep staff back past their finish time if they refused to stay back, which is what I responded to her with. At this point, staff were walking past and witnessing.
Now she's created this whole mess that's getting even more dramatic that people are going to notice.
Making a scene.
I'm sure when they first had that conversation, no one cared.
At that place of work, she has lots of staff that are afraid of losing their jobs, so they agree with her. So I knew that I wasn't going to win. I told her, "I'm sorry, but I'm leaving. My friend needs me. I already told you that I will stay in the future, but that doesn't give you the right to talk to me like that either just because I'm working under you." And she said that if I walk out, then don't come back because I won't have a job. I walked out without saying another word. After this, I asked other people from work if I was rude to her, and I will admit by the end of the arguing, I was getting pretty angry. However, I never swore at her. I didn't yell, but I did raise my voice. She, however, was cutting me off, swearing at me, and yelling. The other people I asked said yes, and so I was starting to think that maybe I was the rude one. However, a couple of months go by, and at my other place of work, one of the girls who I used to work with at my sister's workplace started working at my job, one I wasn't friends with at the time. And she told me that she left because my sister is toxic. I ran into another coworker a couple of months after, and he told me that he saw the situation and said it was unreasonable to fire me after how she treated me, and said that he left because of her too. Boom. Yeah, if you're going to be a bad boss, you're going to lose all your employees.
You're going to lose them all. That's the thing. The sister is thinking that, oh, OP can't talk to her like that, and is saying like, oh, you're treating me like your sister. But the thing is, that's what she's doing.
Yeah.
She's treating OP like a sister and not an employee. She thinks, oh, hey, can you help me out a little bit more? It's like, no,
Yeah.
that's what you would ask your sister, not your
Exactly.
employee. Oh, I'm going to yell at you while we're having an argument. It's what you do with your sister, not your employee.
Exactly. I ended up apologizing to my sister because I didn't want to leave our relationship angry, and I told her I want to talk again. I also had my school formal coming up and wanted her to come to my photos beforehand because those photos would only ever happen once. To which she responded with, "Are you effing kidding me right now? I can get over all of the other small fights we have had and the stupid things that we've had arguments about because I love you. But the second you bring your childish little tantrums into my workplace, the place that I have devoted every single ounce of my energy and being into, I refuse to apologize or act like it's okay when it's not. The way you acted was disgraceful, disrespectful, and had the potential to threaten my job security. You invited me to your formal without even apologizing to me or acknowledging you were in the wrong is not you trying to make up with me. It's just you being selfish and only thinking about yourself because apparently that's what you're good at now." And I responded with, "You know that I love you and that I want a relationship with you. I understand that you have gone through a lot and I get it because I have too. And I'm sorry for any part that I have played in what has happened. If you were to come to photos, they will be at 4:45. Otherwise, it will be too dark." And she said that wasn't good enough, so I didn't respond. Fast forward a couple of months and she asked me to come to her birthday, which I said no to because I was still hurt and she hadn't come to my birthday in years, not even sent me a message to say happy birthday. I asked her to come to my graduation and she said no, so I decided to not put any more effort into our relationship and told her that I was done being the one to put effort in when she doesn't even try to message me unless it benefits her. I bring this up now because more drama has gone on currently and her firing me was brought up. So, am I the a-hole? We do have an update, but what do we think so far? Is OP the a-hole?
No, your sister is clearly a bad boss.
Yeah.
And like taking advantage of her employees, including you, and thinks that she can get away with it because you're her sister, which is not the case.
You've got support from the other employees under her rule, and they also agree that she is just not a good boss.
The thing is, if you had had that conversation and then all of the other employees had said, wow, like, you cannot speak to your boss like that.
Yeah.
That's not okay. Blah, 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 blah. I would have been like, yeah, maybe you said something wrong there. But you left and then everyone, like multiple people came to you and said, yeah, I quit because she sucks.
Exactly. So definitely not the a-hole, but we do have an update. So let's get into it. Update. I didn't report my sister because it wasn't a big issue at the time. I had another job, so it wasn't like I was without income. Second of all, calling me the a-hole because I tried to make amends with my sister is crazy. We are currently in no contact and I don't let her walk all over me. Yes, I would love a relationship with her, but at the end of my day, my mental health comes first. I wasn't asking if this made me the a-hole. I was asking if I was the a-hole for cutting her off. So we're clarifying some things. And lastly, for the comments, this story isn't fake. Believe me, I wish it was, but unfortunately, it's not. Before saying it's fake, ask me to clarify anything, which I will happily do to show you that I am telling the truth. This happened a year ago, and now more drama has come up, which I will go through now. And for context, I will say my mom wasn't perfect. I definitely have trauma that I won't get into for the sake of keeping this as short as possible. However, my belief is that your own trauma is your own to heal. You cannot blame other people, which is something that I have focused on for the last 6 years of my life. I now have a relationship with my mom that, although it isn't perfect, it is still one where I can trust her with advice and support. My mom also has had a traumatic childhood, and although she tried to break the cycle, she was the type of mother who would give you heaps and heaps of love and care and then switch it off when things got bad. She isn't perfect, but I love my mom and know that she did the best that she could with the knowledge she had at the time. She is constantly trying to fix as much of the trauma as she can, and she apologizes to all of us for our upbringing. However, she does still carry a lot of anger, which is something that I have voiced to her that I think she should heal. For the sake of this update, I will not mention my oldest brother as he is not relevant to the story. I will refer to my older brother, 26 male, older sister, 23 female, and younger brother, 17 male. I haven't talked to my sister since I asked her to come to my graduation and she said no, which was November of last year. Since then, I have only seen her for a few minutes every couple of months when she drops my younger brother off at home, but I don't talk to her. A couple of weeks ago, my younger brother broke up with his girlfriend. And yes, it is only a teenage relationship, but he was very hurt by her as she is very manipulative. So I thought it would be a nice idea to try and get all of us siblings together just for an afternoon to hang out and support him. I messaged an old chat with my other siblings in it before realizing that my sister had blocked me. So I got my older brother to add her to the chat. I sent a message stating the situation and told them when my availability was and asked them to send theirs. At first, my older brother said that he would check if he was free, but then my sister came back, I'm paraphrasing here, and said that she already sees him at work and going to hang out together was really pointless because it's not going to make him feel better.
He's already my employee. I don't need to hang out with him. Why would I see him more than when he's working for me?
That's crazy. You can at least try to make him feel better. My younger brother is really hurt by my family being broken. He has nightmares about my older siblings leaving him and forgetting about him, so I know how important this hangout would be for him. Anyways, I responded by saying that seeing him all the time and all of us hanging out is very different and that she should know that. And this is when it went bad. I know I shouldn't have texted that so witchy, but I do apologize later on. My older brother and sister tell me that I am reactive and aggressive and I need to learn how to communicate over text. But regardless, he is in high school. He will get over the breakup. I then responded saying that it wasn't just about his breakup, but that he felt really disconnected from the family for months. I then explained that I was sorry and didn't mean for the text to come out that way. I just got annoyed because this happens every time we try to make plans with each other, and we haven't all been in the same room as each other for years. My sister then responded saying that he's fine and I'm overreacting, and that I still live at home, so I don't understand what it's like to be an actual adult. She then said that reaching out is a two-way street, and if I wanted to hang out, I need to ask her. She then said that she doesn't want to hang out if I'm constantly having a victim mentality, and that's something that I need to fix if I want her in my life. My brother responded and said that he agrees with her, and it's hard to make time for themselves, let alone for socializing. I responded saying that I'm also an adult now, and I work full-time, have uni full-time, play sports, and have a boyfriend, and yet I still find time for them and time to decompress. I also buy my own groceries. I clean the house all the time, pay board, and do all of my own chores. I'm practically living on my own in every way apart from my room actually being at my mom's house. I then said that I don't even know them anymore or what they're like, and that me and my younger brother feel completely shut out from their lives. I said that I get frustrated when I reach out for the first time in months and they say they are unavailable. I also told my sister that I am reactive because I don't plan on getting close with her again when she pushes me away every time. I then brought up how she never apologized for firing me when I apologized to her for the way I acted. I told her to stop blaming me for once and see it from my perspective. My brother then said that an employer doesn't apologize for firing you when you have been disrespectful to them. He said that she was my boss and had every right to snap back to me for undermining her. Not true.
It's not true. And also, like, I'm sorry, the way that she fired OP was so, like, blasé. She was just like, okay, well, if you leave, you're fired.
OP was just definitely in the right, and everyone else is stupid. And I said that he doesn't know the full context and only knows what my sister has told him. Plus, I apologized for the way that I reacted. I then told him what actually happened. Please see the original post. And he said that my friends on the shift saying that she was out of line isn't credible, but he doesn't understand that I was new to that job, so I didn't have any friends at the time. The only witnesses I had were those I spoke to after I left the store. He then told me to keep dredging up past drama to justify my poor behavior and then left the chat.
It's not past drama. You asked. I guess you didn't ask. You just kind of assumed that you knew what the situation was. And then OP said, oh, that's not what happened. Here's what happened. He's like, oh, bring it up. Past drama. Like, you just did that.
You need to know the situation. And all of you people need to know that we've gotten full episodes with more stories just like this one on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever your favorite podcast app is. Just search OK Storytime. Get on over there.
Get over there.
Or you're fired. We have that that authority.
Fire all of you.
They're really scary. It's too much power.
I have all the power. And the Worm Queen.
You are in my dominion, and therefore I have complete authority over your jobs.
But anyway, there is a little bit more to the story. I'm just going to wrap it right up, okay? So, at this point, my sister only started responding again when I brought up how people left because of her. I told her that I'm not telling her who it was because she hasn't put in any effort to actually act like my sister, so I'm not going to support her either. And she said, and I quote, "You seriously need to seek some professional mental help." So I didn't respond. So am I the a-hole for not telling my sister who left the company because of her? And there are some comments, but what's her answer?
No.
It doesn't even need to be a question. It's not anything you owe her at all.
Nope.
Some comments say, you are the a-hole. You are young and, sorry to say, immature. You think being reasonable from your perspective is the right way, and yet ignore the signs that contradict this. But that's okay. You will learn over time. Getting fired has nothing to do with her being your sister. You chose to get fired as your manager was very clear about the consequences. You decided that your friend waiting was more important than losing your job. Your opinion about reasonableness is irrelevant. You will find many bosses will do things that you find unreasonable, and then you decide if you stay or leave. All good. However, you continue to bring this up as part of your family discussion. Stop it. It is history. In the future, don't blur the personal and professional lives. If you feel the personal relationship can't be repaired, then it's okay to go no contact. But she does not have any reason to apologize to you. And someone else responds to that comment.
Wrong commenter. OP's family was bringing it up. Sister and the brother were always bringing it up, saying, "Oh, you talked back bad about me, blah, 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 whatever." And also, I hate the idea that you cannot communicate your needs and rights as an employee to your employer, that you cannot stand up for yourself. If your employer is asking you something that is unfair, that they have not given you forewarning for, that, et cetera, like say, hey, don't just let them walk all over you. Obviously, sometimes that can lead to consequences. They might fire you, blah, blah, blah. In which case, hopefully you can get some legal, recourse. But if your boss is treating you unfairly, do not take it.
Yeah, I feel like this commenter was just like, just all bosses are just like terrible like that. You just have to deal with it.
You just have to deal with it. It's like, no.
No. Stand up for
This is
yourself.
why we have like workers,
You called OP immature for wanting to leave work after her shift ended, but that's okay. You will learn over time. And OP responds to that, "I didn't decide that my friend waiting was more important than losing my job. I decided that I wasn't going to be berated by her anymore because I wanted to leave at my intended shift end time. I brought up her firing me in the discussion because I was explaining how these situations occur over and over again, and I am always made out to be the bad guy. I brought it up because it was unresolved and needed to be resolved going forward."
Her sister said, literally when she tried to bring it up and like get past it, her sister was like, "How dare you? You almost made me lose my job security." It's like, okay. Clearly, her sister was not over that.
But OP's response continues. "Also, I'm a store manager myself and have never treated a staff member the way she treated me, and I had my younger brother work for me at a time as well." Someone else responds, "I agree with this. The two of you will never bend because you both think that you're right. So just agree to disagree and drop it. If she was just a former employer, she would not have to explain herself to a former employee. The fact that you want to have a heart-to-heart about this in itself, expecting special treatment."
But I also kind of disagree with that because there is a difference in how you treat a regular employee and how you treat an employee who is your family, because you also have outside time where you see them. You have two simultaneous relationships going on with that person, and you have to manage both.
You can like treat her as a sister in the sense where you're going to explain yourself a little bit more. Like, that's really it. When you disagree with the boss, you either learn to live with it or leave. You may be a better boss now, but that's not how she runs her company. You chose to leave and you are better for it. So let it go. And that's the end of that story. I don't know. I think forget about this stuff because it's clearly just a headache and it's not going to be resolved. If someone's ending a conversation with "you need serious mental help," then they don't know what they're talking about because they have nothing else to say.
You need serious mental health.
That's just like a
That's a
default
cop-out,
line.
yeah.
Yeah. So just don't worry about that stuff anymore, or like call her or see her in person and talk about it in person. But until then, just try to hang out. And if people aren't free, then they're not free and they don't want to hang out. And that's a big bummer.
Well, they're not going to really prioritize me in their life. And also they fired me. So maybe we're not that close.
Yeah. Maybe they're not that great after all.
But that's the end of that story. I made my sister cry on her wedding day because I'm not following her rules.
Oh, cry me a river.
About a year ago, my 41 female sister, 33 female, sent out her save the dates. She was getting married less than a week before my son's 18th birthday. Since my family is all over the country, my son has never had a big birthday celebration. My sister was planning a post-wedding brunch the day after the ceremony and reception, and I asked if she would be okay if we could do something for my son in the afternoon, since family will already be gathered for her wedding. She loved the idea, and I ran it by my son and reminded him he can do something with his friends on his actual birthday. Both were happy with the idea. I even chose a venue away from the hotel we'd all be staying at so my sister wouldn't feel we were encroaching on her wedding. By the way, this comes from Wedding Whoopsie, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. All good so far, no problems. 6 months ago, the invitations came and I RSVP'd for me and my son. Ex-husband is not in the picture. Meal options were a beef dish or a fish dish. I RSVP'd for 2 beef dinners. Now on to the problem and where I'm being told I'm in the wrong. At the reception yesterday, my almost 18-year-old son was given a child's meal, chicken nuggets and steak fries. I told the server there was a mistake and we RSVP'd for the beef dish. The server took the plate and brought out a beef dinner 2 minutes later. For clarification, this wasn't a child-free wedding and there were about 5 kids there, aged 4 to 9 or so. At the brunch today, my sister pretty much ignored me and was really cold when she did talk to me. As it was ending, I asked if she was still coming to my son's celebration since she seemed like she was mad at me. She pulled out a piece of paper and said, "Maybe I'll come once you pay this." The paper was an invoice she made up for $77 for an extra dinner. The steak was $77?
That's how it is at weddings.
We're having a barbecue at my wedding. I was confused and asked her what it was about. And apparently my nearly 18-year-old son was supposed to get a child's meal, and the caterer was charging my sister an additional $77, and that it was my fault they had to provide an additional meal. I told her that 1, I had RSVP'd and chosen the adult meal for him months ago, and 2, he's a 17-year-old. How would anyone think a meal of 4 chicken nuggets and a handful of fries would be enough for him? It became this big blow up, and my sister turned it into people having to take sides. And surprise, my son's birthday party ended up being a disaster that almost no one attended because your sister is the bride and she makes the rules on her day. Even our mom skipped it because my sister was inconsolable. I still think I'm being perfectly reasonable. Am I really this wrong about wedding etiquette? Relevant comments. Partially Star says, no, you didn't break etiquette. Your sister is insane. You RSVP'd for beef. He should have gotten beef. No one over the age of 11 eats kids' meals. And OP says, thank you. I feel like once a child is a teenager, they graduate to the adult table and meal. Well, honestly, I feel like this is the parents' decision. It's a parent-child co-decision on what they need to eat. And so, if you have a 10-year-old who's like, I'm a growing 10-year-old, I need a full meal, then that's the parents' decision if they get the kid a full meal.
This boy's 17.
Global Fact 7752, I'm sorry, I agree with you. Here's what's odd to me. Someone had to have given the caterer a count of how many adult meals and how many children's meals. Nobody in their right mind would tell a caterer a child's meal for a 17-year-old. My son was man-sized at almost 18, and I'm sure yours is as well. Now, on your behalf, I would have done the exact same thing. I would have immediately assumed the kitchen had simply made a mistake. Something is rotten in Denmark here because someone had to have counted your son as a child, which is bizarre. I won't even go into the caterer charging that much for a plate. Just ridiculous. Secondly, it was your sister's choice to get all worked up and mad at her own wedding. This is something that could have been easily addressed at a later time. I can't see where you did anything wrong, but the takeaway from this is somebody turned in 1 adult and 1 child onto the caterer. No offense, your sister sounds like a piece of work, OP says, but the takeaway from this is somebody turned in 1 adult and 1 child onto the caterer. Exactly. The RSVP didn't go directly to the caterer, so at some point my sister decided to give my son a kid's meal. And if this was such an issue, why didn't she immediately address it with me? Dolphine Darko says, I would love to know what the bride's actual attendance was. Did everyone actually show up? And were they short a beef plate? I find that very hard to believe. Please forward these responses to your family. They are absolutely crazy to take our side. OP says the reception was about 180 people. I do know at least 4 didn't show up since my mom complained about it to me. Sister's coworker's family got the vid. I wonder if they'll get invoices too. And there is an update, but excellent question for the caterers. 4 people that at least one of them had to have ordered the beef unless they all ordered the fish. But yeah, why wasn't one of those plates used? This makes no sense.
Exactly. And I'm also kind of confused. I don't know. The caterer just seems kind of whack. I don't know if this is just how I interpreted it or heard it or something, but was the bride was given the invoice in the middle of the wedding? Or was that a later conversation?
That's a good question.
I'm on it.
When she pulled up the invoice, it sounded like it was just in the middle of the wedding. She's like, this is why I'm not talking to you. I'm going to go ahead and do my own wedding thing, and dance around or something.
Something's fishy about this caterer, but there's an update. I posted a few days ago, and I'm not sure if this sub allows for or welcomes updates. We do, though. But here it is. It's not good. My post was about my sister ordering a children's meal for my 17-year-old son at her reception and throwing a fit the next day and invoicing me to pay for his extra adult meal that he wasn't supposed to get. Thank you all for confirming it was correct that my son should have been given the adult meal we RSVP'd with.
The invoice was given at a brunch the next day. So they didn't get the invoice at the actual reception.
I found out it was all planned. Of course it was. After my sister agreed for my son to have his milestone 18th birthday celebrated the day after the wedding, since all family would already be there for the wedding, she decided she didn't want to share her weekend anymore. Which she could have said. She could have said, hey, I understand why you wanted to throw the son's birthday party. Don't think I want to do it on this weekend. Could have said that. Yes, she got Friday for the rehearsal and rehearsal dinner, Saturday for the ceremony and reception, and apparently needed all of Sunday too. Would the reasonable thing be to tell me she was no longer comfortable with my son's party? Yes, and I would have canceled and postponed it. Would the reasonable thing to be to manufacture some petty beef and turn everyone against me and my son, resulting in almost no one showing up? Apparently yes to my sister and mother.
Well, it wasn't petty beef because it was $77. That's more than petty.
It was very expensive beef. Because that makeshift invoice, I had another look at it after I posted, printed on an inkjet printer that slightly bleeds red even on black and white, just like my mother's old faulty printer, which means she printed it before the wedding. So it wasn't the caterer's fault. They probably never charged the OP.
Maybe.
It was actually my son that noticed and mentioned it. Looked like it came from my mom's crappy printer. But you know what I'm noticing?
What are you noticing?
The fact that we have all these full episodes for you to listen to with stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcast, or iHeartRadio and search a Poke Storytime. Do you have any final thoughts?
The way that last sentence was really feeling like a Scooby-Doo episode over here.
I mean, did my sister really spend her wedding night creating an invoice? Of course it was already prepared. This was all planned. I called my mom and confronted her yesterday, and she just said it was your sister's wedding. All the attention should have been on her anyway. Why didn't you say that?
Now I'm just imagining the wedding night. The husband is like, babe, come back to bed. And she's like, wait, I have to finish it.
I'm furiously typing this invoice.
He goes, oh, babe, are you talking in your villain voice again? What are you doing?
Oh, she'll never cross me again. Her wedding was on Saturday. She doesn't own Sunday. That's the Lord's Day. Doesn't own it. So they humiliated my son so she can play princess for an extra day. Honestly, things have been bad in the past, but for the past 5 years, I thought I was really making progress with my mom, but I'm questioning her role in my life now more than ever. Even worse, my son no longer wants anything to do with both of them, and maybe that's for the best. And there are some relevant comments. Circus Sloth says, this is absolutely wild. I guess I can see wanting all the attention on the couple the day of, but the fact that she saw celebrating her nephew the day after her wedding with all her family around as a burden, taking attention away from her own pretty princess special weekend. instead of being overjoyed to share a fun, happy milestone with him is gross. OP says, that's the thing that bothers me. At any point, she could have said, I thought about it some more, and I really want the attention of the weekend to be on me. I would have been annoyed, but canceled the birthday party. But to not say anything and cause this blow up is really out of this world. Okay, Cryptographers 1302. Can I see being slightly annoyed at a nephew's B-day party the day after the wedding? Maybe. But I'm absolutely passing away that she had him served a kid's portion like he isn't eating more than most adults at almost 18. I mean, just every step of her plot makes no sense. OP says, I totally get it. When I first approached her about it, it was only because it's a milestone birthday and my extended family is spread throughout the country. So it meant everyone who came to the wedding could also celebrate my son's birthday. I even booked an entirely different venue so she wouldn't feel encroached on. If she or even my son wasn't okay with it, I wouldn't have pressed the issue at all. I legitimately thought she was happy with extending the festivities. Well, she's legitimately kind of crazy. So that's the end of the story. But wow.
Wow.
I don't understand.
That was so wild.
Yeah.
Really just staging a whole coup. Oh, that is so wild.
But that's the end of that story, folks.